Exodia!
You can't possibly stand against my 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons. Draw your last pathetic card so I can end this, Yugi.
My grandpa's deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba. But it does contain the unstoppable Exodia. I've assembled all 5 special cards, all 5 pieces of the puzzle.
Exodia! It's not possible! No one's ever been able to call him!
Exodia! Obliterate!
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Toon Duelists. My name is Prototype, and today I got an Exodia deck profile for you guys. Exodia is the perfect deck for everyone that's new into Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it's straightforward, it's simple to play, it's not a complicated combo deck, so I absolutely recommend you to get a deck like that when you're new into Yu-Gi-Oh! Or even if you just played a very complicated combo deck and you're like, okay, I want something simple now, then Exodia is also the deck for you. And let me introduce you the deck, show you how it's being played. I mean, there's not much comboing going on, but I'll explain that while doing the deck profile. And yeah, I would say let's just dive into it. Alright, the first 5 cards we are playing are obviously the Exodia pieces that cannot be missed in an Exodia deck. And you obviously also need them for your combo or for your spell card that summons your boss monster out. And those 5 cards are also the reason why we are playing a 45 card deck, because those are bricks, you don't want to draw them, so we want to make it less likely to draw into these cards or even multiple copies of those, because they are dead cards in your hand. But we also still want to keep the deck consistent and not play a 60 card version, because we obviously need to draw other cards to get our combo going. So 45 cards is the perfect ratio right here. For our engine monsters, we are playing 3 copies of Sengenjin, 3 copies of Millennium Shield, 2 copies of Golem, and 3 copies of Heart of the Blue Eyes. So those 3 cards here all share the effect that you can set them face up into your spell and trap zone from your hand, and then you can activate them in your spell and trap zone to special summon them, and then they all have different effects. This one adds your Millennium monster, so any of those 3 here. This one adds you the Millennium Ankh, which is our most important spell that summons us the Exodia boss monster out. This one adds us our field spell, and this one works differently. You can discard this card and also add a Millennium Ankh into your hand. And then it has an additional effect when your opponent special summons a monster with 3000 ATK or level 8 or higher. You can send that monster to the graveyard and then special summon Heart of the Blue Eyes. That's a once per duel effect though. Those 3 monsters here also have an additional effect. This one cannot be destroyed by monster effects, this one cannot be destroyed by spell or trap effects, and this one prevents your Millennium Ankh from being negated. And Heart of the Blue Eyes is, by the way, the reason why I built this deck, because look at how amazing this card looks. Another Blue Eyes White Dragon basically. I just love it. So amazing. For our engine, spell and traps, we are playing 3 copies of Millennium Ankh. This is the card that lets you summon out your Exodia boss monster from the extra deck by revealing the 5 pieces of Exodia. Then we are playing 2 copies of Melody. This card lets us add the Heart of the Blue Eyes into our hand, so this is basically just a searcher for Heart of the Blue Eyes to make the deck more consistent. Then we have our field spell, Wedge Temple, which lets us set 1 monster from our hand into the spell and trap zone, and then another one from our deck. So with this card here, we can play through hand traps better. That's why we are playing that one. And then Exod right here is a board wipe if we control our Exodia boss monster from the extra deck, which is a very strong interruption, and our boss monster from the extra deck also searches this one in the end phase, so you search it in your end phase and then in your opponent's end phase again. That's why we're playing it twice. Then we're also playing a bunch of non-engine cards in this deck. Let's start off with the spells. So the first one is Secret Village of the Spellcasters, which prevents our opponents from using spell cards if we control a spellcaster and they don't control a spellcaster, and Exodia is a spellcaster, so this is a very strong lock. Then we're also playing Set Rotation, which sets 2 field spells face down, one on your side, one to your opponent's side of the field. We will set Wetchu Temple to our side, and then Secret Village to the opponent's side. Then Triple Tactics Talent, very good to block hand traps, because after you already ate a hand trap, you can use it to strip your opponent from another hand trap, or to draw 2 cards if you can't play anymore. Then also Called by the Grave to block hand traps, and then Super Polymerization, which is a super strong board breaker since your opponent cannot chain to this card, and so it cannot be negated. And we have the space in the extra deck for it, so yeah, very strong card that we don't want to miss out on. And the rest of the non-engine cards that we are playing are hand traps. Basically, you can play any hand traps that you want in here. This is just a suggestion. Of course, if you have Fuvalos, go for Fuvalos, for example, it's stronger. But this is the hand trap lineup I decided to go for. 3 copies of Ash, 3 copies of Nip, 3 copies of Veiler, 3 copies of Imperm, and then 1 copy of Shifter. Shifter is limited at the moment, that's why we cannot play it 3 times. But we don't use our graveyard at all in this deck, and this is a very strong hand trap that you can only play if you don't use your graveyard, which obviously then we are gonna use it. And if this card would come back to 3, we would play 3 copies of it. That's it for the 45 card main deck. Now we're getting to the extra deck. Let's start off with the fusion monsters here. We're playing 3 copies of the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. This is the card I was talking about all the time, our boss monster that we summon out with Millennium Ankh. Also such a beautiful card, by the way, the design. So amazing. And this card's effect is that it cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects. And once per turn, if it battles during damage calculation, you can make this card gain 80k equal to your LP. So if we have 8000, then this card will be at 8000 80k. And then once per turn, when a spell or trap card is activated, we can negate that effect. And in the end phase, this is what I was talking about earlier, we can set the Exot trap card that wipes our opponent's board. And then once per turn during our standby phase, we have to pay 1000 LP, which is, yeah, like, doesn't really matter. And then the rest of those cards here are Super Poly targets, Mud Dragon, Dracostelia, Bird Plant, and Garura. Alright, next up we have 2 Synchro monsters that can be summoned by normal summoning Veiler or normal summoning Ash Blossom and then using your Millennium monsters to go into them. And they have really strong effects, so it sometimes can be useful to use a hand trap to synchro into them. And then we also got the Galaxy Star Slayer Typhon, which is also a strong card going second when you need to get rid of an opponent's monster that it's hard to get rid of, or if they have a monster that has 3000 or more ATK with a strong effect, to block them from that effect being used. So yeah, also a strong card that you should consider to play in the Exodia deck. And last but not least, the Link monsters. So we're playing 1 copy of Cerberus, which is discard 1, pop 1 monster. Nightmare Phoenix, discard 1, pop a spell or trap. And Unicorn, discard 1, shuffle 1 card back into the deck. Then we're playing Seebic here, which allows us to gain LP. When this card does damage, you gain LP of the amount of damage you've done, which can be useful in the Exodia deck because our boss monster has ATK as much as LP we have, and we also have to pay 2000 LP sometimes for our Millennium effects. And then it can happen that we need LP, so that's why this card is in here. And then 1 copy of Underworld Goddess, which is just a strong board breaker. You can have 4 monsters on the field and then use one of your opponent's monsters to go into this, and there's no protection against that, so cards that are really hard to get rid of can be gotten rid of with this one here. So it's an out that doesn't come up too often, but when you need it, it does come in clutch, and that's why we are playing it in here. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. As I said in the beginning, no combo today because you guys saw it now. It's just playing Millennium Ankh, revealing the 5 pieces of Exodia, and then summon out the Exodia Fusion monster. And everything else is just searchers for Millennium Ankh. So yeah, we don't need a combo video for this one. If you have any questions though, let me know down in the comments. I'll happily answer them. And then leave a like, subscribe, it would help us a lot. It's highly appreciated. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.